Hey guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's February 1st, 2025, and Eli and I were just talking how fast January went, and here we are. We got a lot of stuff we got to talk about. We'll recap, certainly, of course, the NFL, but we always start our show with our monologue, and of course, that's sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Summerhill, New York. Eli, before I get in there, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, and it's Saturday, and we're already in February. That January, as you mentioned, flew by fast, and I
Yep.
can't believe it. It was a rough week, but
Yeah.
we're gonna get to it though.
Yeah. So let me actually start that and the monologue this week is just the tragic events that we witnessed during the week in Washington D.C. and again last night in Philadelphia. It's just it's something that Eli and I talk about sports, and this kind of puts things into perspective for us, and it's just a tragedy that it happened, and I would like to, I wish the television and the news broadcast, I know it's newsworthy and so forth, but just to continuously run this, I mean, that all the people that were affected by this don't want to turn on a television and see this thing over and over and over again. So like I said, it's heartbreaking because there were so many people who lost their lives and how many families, and the U.S. figure skating program, this could set them back and things like that, and you don't see this kind of thing happen
Very
very
often.
often, but when it does, like I said, Sports with Mono and Mono and Eli and I just send our
Deepest
deepest
condolence.
regards to the families that have been affected by this, and it's just a tragedy. And like I said, it puts what we talk about into perspective. And loss of life is something we take very seriously, and continue to pray for those families. It's just a horrible incident, Eli.
It is an absolute horrible incident. As we said, we are sending our thoughts and condolences. That Washington D.C. crash in the river the other day on Wednesday, it was sad. It looks like the American Eagle plane was just coming in for a landing.
Yeah,
Nothing was wrong. They were in the right, and the helicopter went in and crashed. It was horrible to watch the video of it go down.
sure was.
And right now, it looks like the helicopter and air traffic control is at fault at the moment because the controller was doing a job for two people. They were short staffed that night. It was tough to watch. From last night, Philadelphia crash. That was horrible to watch. The girl just completed her cancer treatment at St. Jude's
Oh,
Shrine, St. Jude's Children's Hospital. And
yeah.
again, no crash, no air traffic control like that in the skies. It just lost control and went down. And the way it
Mm.
came down was almost like described as a missile. The way it just touched the ground and exploded. It was horrible to see. It's horrible to just describe and take in the moment. We're
Yep.
sending our condolences to all those who have lost their lives, and we'll be
Yep.
hoping for the best. And if you're flying at any time soon, you know, just just continue to pray, hope for a safe flight. And
Yep.
I understand if you don't want to fly because it's tough. I get it after the first crash, but now with two of them, it's definitely challenging right now.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, we take life more seriously than we do sports, and this is just a tragedy that we all got to witness, and just terrible. So again, all our prayers go out to those families. Um, so let's move on into kind of our
Football.
getaway from reality, and that's the world of sports. And well, Eli, I think we got to recap what took place last week. First and foremost,
That standings chart.
okay, but first and foremost, I have to take my medicine here
Yes,
because
you do first.
I broke my own cardinal rule against betting against Patrick Mahomes. I just thought Buffalo was ready to take that next step, and with number 15 as the quarterback for the other team, you can't take anything for granted. You have to execute everything absolutely flawlessly, and there was mistakes that were made, and it cost the Buffalo Bills a chance to get back to the Super Bowl. And this is I know a lot of people start to, get tired of hearing about Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs, but you have to give them their due. People kept saying all year, they're not the same team. They were 15-2. Yes, I know, but they didn't blow anybody out. But when it comes down to the
The
big
playoffs.
number 15 just rises above, and he's going to go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks.
Well, there's two things I want to say first before we go on. I like to say with the Kansas City Chiefs, I said those four factors week after week on every show. And in order, and their key to success was Taylor Swift, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and of course, the referees. And once again, it paid off. Second thing, never bet against Patrick Mahomes. I think that is the lesson learned today. Maybe a different story next week about the Philadelphia pick. Maybe you might pick against them. I don't know what your call is there. Again, it's a Super Bowl. And again, this is a rematch from the last time these two teams met. So I could see if you do disagree and differ. But yeah, this is, you can't bet against him. And even, yes, I did say all along in the beginning that they're not playing great football, but they're going to win the Super Bowl or play great football in the playoffs because that's just how this Kansas City team is. That's what they're known to do. They're going to continuously do that. Now, to your question, is he going to be coming? Is he going to be the greatest quarterback of all time? Do we have to compare him to Tom Brady? I don't think so, that he's going to be the greatest of all time right now. Even if he does get a 3P, I think Tom Brady had a lot more records completed. I think he's done a lot more. He's won a lot more Super Bowls that gave him that honor. But again, don't get me wrong. A couple years from now, when he does eventually get more Super Bowls or plays better and better, then we could answer that question. Is he better than Tom Brady? But for right now, in my book, I still think Tom Brady is the greatest of all time.
Yeah, and I'm not going to dispute that right now. It's just amazing though. Like all of the personnel changes that the Kansas City Chiefs have been going through, right? And it almost doesn't matter who Patrick Mahomes has on that roster. He finds a way to utilize all of those assets and pull it together. Like Pacheco is the number one running back. He's been injured, so Kareem Hunt steps up and they got this really outstanding rookie Worthy. And you see guys like Juju Smith Schuster, who it's just amazing that he can adapt to the personnel around him to get the job done. I can't say enough about the guy. And yeah, we're going to make our Super Bowl picks next week, but I think you have an indication of where I'm leaning.
I kind of think so too, Jim. But we'll see. We do have a couple comments I want to catch up on too. From Juan M. Santos, he says, "Gonna miss your voice next year during St. Mary basketball games. You're the best." Thank you, Juan. He is a fantastic videographer. You can follow him on Instagram at JM10 Films. He does fantastic work covering and for his son and for everything at St. Mary's. We're really gonna miss seeing you and your great videos that you do for the school.
Good job. Nice comment, Juan. Thank you very much.
Sports Talk with JR. Do you think Anthony Campanella is a good hire for the Jacksonville Jaguars as a defensive coordinator? I don't know.
Well, listen, I mean, if you look at the history of the Campanelli fans, certainly in Bergen Catholic, I played against his father, and that Bergen Catholic head coaches. They had two brothers. It's just amazing. So there's definitely some genes there. But this is the NFL, so you never know. And they're going into a situation, Anthony is, with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have a lot of rebuilding to do. But I think that's, like I said, they come from a football family, so I think that's probably a good thing. And he's young, and we'll see how it pans out for them.
Absolutely.
So,
and that's the other game.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Take it away. Go ahead.
Well, I really thought Washington had a chance in the beginning. Before the game tipped off, I thought they had a shot because the way they played against Detroit. I was like, okay, we have a shot. The Commanders have a shot to do the impossible. I was completely wrong. 55-23 was the final. And there's one guy that I have to mention. Saquon Barkley. Mm-hmm. There is no question, if it wasn't for Saquon Barkley, Philadelphia is not in the Super Bowl right now.
Yeah,
I can tell you that right now. And I know every New York Giant fan that I will talk to, or you will see, is rooting for Kansas City. And I think I'm shocked to hear that, but you know why? Because of Saquon Barkley. But as I keep on stressing,
Mm.
Saquon Barkley would have been good in New York if you had the right weapons, if you had
Right.
the right people. But it all came down to the organization, came down to the managers, and the head coach. Nothing was done. He had to go. And for Philadelphia to pick him up was one of the best things that franchise has ever done.
Yeah, and
And
we talked about it a little bit that, I don't know why a Giant fan would begrudge the success that Barkley has had, even though it's in Philadelphia. He did what he had to do from a business decision, and the Giants both they both made the decision that they had to move on, and they did. And I've always been, as you know, a big supporter of Barkley. Um, and it almost feels like he had 5 wasted years in New York because they had terrible offensive line, and his talent was always confined to, the personnel around him. And, he's found a home in Philadelphia, and they have an outstanding offensive line. And the people around outside of New York are finally getting a chance to see how talented this young man is. And by
right,
the way, very similar to Patrick Mahomes, and they're both classy, humble people. When Saquon Barkley scored that first touchdown, you know what he did with the ball? He did what Walter Payton used to do. He handed it to the referee, and he didn't showboat. He didn't do anything, and that's just class. That's what Walter Payton used to do, and because he acted like he was there before, and I couldn't be happier for his success. Um,
absolutely.
and it's not surprising to me. It's not.
And there is no question, though, Jaden Daniels, to the other side of things, what a heck of a run. And to see him almost go to the Super Bowl and to make it to the conference championship in his rookie year is outstanding. And this is not the end for this Washington team. This is just the beginning. They
Yep.
made the right offseason moves. They picked up the right quarterback, which was a gamble that paid off very well. And we're going to see them very soon. And remember, keep in mind one thing. In the NFC East, there has not been a repeating champion. This year, it was Philadelphia. Giants probably ain't going to do it next year. Get to win the NFC Championship for the East.
Yep.
Dallas, probably not. So it looks like Washington is the favorite right now of winning the NFC East next year. So keep that pick in mind, folks.
Yeah, and Eli, if you didn't watch the game, right, you just picked up the newspaper on Monday morning and it said, "Oh my God, 55 points," but it wasn't a blowout. I mean, right up until like midway into
It
the
was a close
third
game for a
quarter,
while. Yeah.
yeah, they were still in that game, and you had
Right.
to respect that Jaden Daniels had this career year, and that he kept his team in it. And yeah, they let it slip away with some turnovers at the end, but I have a Jeff Bolliger, a good friend of mine who's been a Washington fan for his entire life. I called him, and I texted him and I said, "You guys have a quarterback for the next 10 years." So things are pretty good from that perspective. Um,
Absolutely. Frankie comments. He says, "Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for watching, Frankie, and for everybody who's commenting. Thank you for doing so.
yes.
Please feel free to keep on commenting. And any thoughts,
Well,
feel
first
free to
and
ask."
foremost,
Right.
I appreciate the comment from Frankie, but I'm very jealous because he's down in sunny Orlando, Florida, probably getting set to tee off right now. So
Good for you.
yeah, and he still listens to the show. He's a loyal listener, and I appreciate that very, very much. So,
Good for you. And
um,
I'm glad you got away from this cold
yeah,
because
no doubt.
Jim and I are about to put on another blanket while doing this show.
I know. I know. All right, so Eli, let's kind of talk about. So our standings are pretty much, the season has come to a
Yep.
close.
Yeah. Basically, if I would have won the Commanders pick, I would have had a shot at tying you for the Super Bowl and to tie it up. But nope. Washington decides to lose, separates that wonderful chart, and now you're in favor to win it all. And there's no competition next week. Doesn't matter. I mean, if we pick Pro Bowl games, different story. But I don't think we're picking Pro Bowl games. So,
but when I look at the standings and so forth, and you and I take our picks and our
very
sports
seriously.
and our knowledge of the game, but it's so that's what drives me crazy about all this FanDuel, and they suck people in. And no matter how good you are or how much you claim to be an expert in the world of the National Football League,
You're always
bottom
gonna be
line,
wrong.
it's like flipping a coin. At some point in time, it's gonna the longer you
It's
go,
gonna be tails. It's not gonna be
the clo-
heads.
the closer to 50-50 you get. And but it was a fun competition that you and I had, and we'll
Yeah.
we'll do it
We'll
again
be back
next year.
again next year. Well, don't worry
We
about
will.
it. We'll be back
You
next year.
bet.
But
You
I do
bet.
got to say though, about to think you better notice for next week or for next year. Never bet against Patrick Mahomes. I hope you take that lesson learned.
All right. Listen, so there's a couple other. Let's do some housekeeping with the NFL, and
Yes.
I think the Cowboys made I don't know. I want to say maybe a surprise pick in
Yeah.
Brian Schottenheimer. But first and foremost, the guy comes from great genes. His father, Marty, was a great head football coach in the National Football League. And, the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. So, the Cowboys decided to move on from Mike McCarthy and bring in Brian Schottenheimer. And, how is that going to work out for the Cowboys? Well, we'll see, because that's a franchise that's been kind of in disarray over the past couple of seasons. They've had a lot of
Yeah.
talent, but they haven't come through. So, what was your thought on that pick as the head coach?
I mean, it really all depends on how they're going to transform Dak Prescott, how they're going to develop as a team. What do they do about Deion Sanders? I mean, I don't think he's going to be going there now. I
No,
think there's, I think I mentioned this last week. They're officially eliminated from playoff contention. That's my thoughts.
okay.
That's my thoughts, folks.
Well, what's your thought on Pete Carroll taking over for the Raiders?
Like I said, I think it's a fantastic hire. We mentioned it last week. I think it was a fantastic pickup. I mean, you could have not asked for a better coach. I feel bad for all those. Congratulations to all the bodegas, as you call it here in the tri-state area, for down in Las Vegas, because he's going to sell a lot of gum with Pete Carroll, because as you know, he loves his gum. So
Yeah.
you're gonna make good business there. But fantastic coach. As long as they pick up a right quarterback in the draft, I think that this Raiders team is going to go very far.
Yeah, and I actually thought there was really a strong possibility of replacing Aaron Pierce with Deion Sanders and Shador
Yep.
Sanders. I really honestly thought that was going to come about, but it didn't. They decided to go with a former coach who's had success and took two teams, your Seahawks, to the Super Bowl twice.
Yep.
You have to wonder. He's the oldest coach in the league now, but is he still in touch with the game?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Why were the Seahawks always in the playoffs every single year? There's a reason. Mostly every single year. Mostly. I'll keep the word mostly in there. Mostly every single year. It's because of that man. How come they won the Super Bowl? Because of that man. Yeah. Right there. His name is Pete Carroll. Eric comments. He says, good morning to all.
Good morning, Eric. Thank you very much for your support, my friend. I appreciate it. So, Eli, what's remaining? Who doesn't have a head coach yet? New Orleans?
New Orleans is still looking at the moment. I think that's it. I'll have to double check that.
Yeah.
NFL.
It's been quite a carousel, like we talked about, right?
Last week was big.
Yeah. Because all the firings and so forth and the changes going around.
New Orleans Saints, that's the only one as of the 29th.
Yeah. I don't know who they're zooming in on. Who's the early favorite for that? I don't know.
I don't know either. But the other hirings that happened this week, Jets hired Chris Harris as their pass game coordinator and defensive backs coach. That happened this week. Bears hired Broncos tight end coach Declan Doyle as their offensive coordinator. Seahawks, they picked up former Saints offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak. I like the pickup. As a Seahawks fan, I think not bad. We'll see if he can help Geno Smith at all, because that's the big question right there.
Well, is Geno Smith under contract, or is he available to move around? I don't know.
I believe he's still probably going to be on the contract. I mean, I don't see the Seahawks going to be picking up anybody in the draft or trading out for anybody. I mean, there's no one out there.
Because the quarterback uncertainty in Las Vegas, and Pete Carroll, maybe he likes to go back and maybe he considers bringing Russell Wilson in or Geno Smith.
I don't think he's picking up Russell Wilson because I think he's still Pittsburgh. That's my opinion with that one.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, though, I think that Russell's better days are behind him. I think it's
Oh yeah.
time for Justin Fields maybe to get the shot full time, but that remains to be seen as well.
Yep. The Jets have hired former Broncos assistant GM Darren Moogie as their new GM.
Yeah.
And the
Well,
last one is good.
yeah, Jets have a lot of work to do. So
Oh, not just a little, a lot of work.
yeah,
They need more than just a year.
I know.
Uh, and the other announcement that they announced the Chiefs will wear white jerseys in the Super Bowl. Philadelphia will wear the green jerseys in the Super Bowl.
Okay. Well,
That's it.
listen, I mean, if you look at it overall, these are, the best team in the AFC. And
Yep, no
I know
question.
a lot of people thought the Ravens, this was their year, or the Bills, this was their year. But, Andy Reid gets them back to the Super Bowl. And Philadelphia, like I said, it was the Barkley turned this thing around. And I
Yeah,
must say, I'm surprised at the success that this Jalen Carter has had because he's turning into quite a player.
yeah,
For the Eagles.
absolutely. And this whole Eagles team, if they win the Super Bowl, that's going to say a lot. That you picked up so many great players, including Saquon Barkley, and you'd be one of the teams with the NFL on their side the entire time. Would be
Yep.
one heck of a story to tell. And those Philadelphia streets, avoid it if possible because that's going to be insane.
Oh yeah, I know. That's the Philadelphia fan. I don't know what else to say. They've
I could.
proven
We
that.
were talking about this in school as a conversation and stuff. Who has the best fan base? And I think there is no question Philadelphia is the best fan base. I mean, they're willing to jump on street poles, to party, to dance, to jump off of. That is just they have, I believe, the most passionate sports fans, and in my book, also the best mascots. I mean, with Gritty, the fanatic on the Philly side. I mean, they got it all there.
Okay. And it's tough to root for Philadelphia if you're from New York. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense there. But I'm a Seahawks fan, so I could say that.
Just one other quick thing on the NFL because I saw you know what happened in the beginning of the season. They replaced Greg Olson with Tom Brady,
Right.
and he made some interesting comments. He's like, I've called some of the biggest games. He called the Super Bowl before, and it was kind of a slap in the face to him. But I think he's outstanding at what he does.
Absolutely.
And I think Brady did a very decent job. I'm not going to say he didn't. He brings a lot of knowledge to the game, but so does Greg Olson. So,
What I think they should have done is did a 3-man team for this year, see how that worked out, and maybe make the possible changes next year.
yeah,
Because how many times they have to go to Mike Pereira, the rules analyst, all the time?
yeah. And this is a whole nother topic about the referees. I mean,
Oh,
we talked about it time and time
I could
again.
sit here all day.
Yeah.
And we know you made the comment last week, Jim, about
People are
that.
actually starting to wonder whether or not, there is something going wrong. And, with fixing games and so forth. And you have to dismiss that. That can happen. It's just like the Kennedy assassination. Was it Oswald? Was it Oswald alone? And my thought is there was no conspiracy. There's just too many people involved that would have to
Right.
know. And when the NBA found had that crooked ref who was fixing games, they get exposed. And as much as you want to believe that the game is being judged fairly, sometimes you just wonder. But I don't think it's an intentional thing. I just think it's maybe the level of competence from the referees. I don't know what else to say about it.
I mean, you heard my thoughts last week, and I know you believe that that's what they're supposed to do, protect Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. We know you said that last week, Jim. We all heard that. But it's getting out of hand. So many calls. I mean, look at the Chiefs call with the Bills with the first down. I thought it was a first down. I mean, I get it. Maybe there was not enough evidence, but
Yeah.
there's so many calls that you can just go back and say, where are the referees? Do you need glasses? I can go to Costco or BJ's, wherever you like, and pick up a pair for you if you like. I mean, really.
Yeah, I see. I see your point. I see your point. All right, so we covered the NFL. So let's kind of move on. And
College
so
basketball.
as the NFL moves out, what comes into play, right? College basketball is starting to heat up, right? Division rivalries, conference rivalries,
Yep.
and so forth. And So you got a couple of big games on the docket tonight with Duke, North Carolina. Always a
Yes,
classic.
fantastic game.
I've seen almost probably dozens, if not hundreds of times, Duke and North Carolina play. It's always a great game. And, um, in particular now, with this Cooper Flag and the way he's come out, it's so rare that a guy with so much promise and fanfare, and he's actually living up to that. And he's probably going to be the first player picked in the draft next
Absolutely.
year. So, we know in college basketball, you can come in, you got to play 1 year, then you can come out. In the college, you have to play 3 years before you can come out. I don't understand the ins and outs of the
Right.
difference, but college basketball is so exciting this time of the year, and I'm looking forward to it.
The
Another
best time
big
is
thing,
March Madness.
right? And right on the heels of this is John Calipari in Arkansas returned to Kentucky.
Yeah.
The success that they had, and even though Rick Pitino doesn't like John Calipari, he said that John Calipari deserves a standing ovation for what he did for Kentucky, and now he's at Arkansas. So that's going to be a new rivalry that's going on, and college basketball is heating up.
Absolutely. And I think the other big games that are happening today before we move off, 12 o'clock ESPN, Florida, Tennessee, Auburn, Mississippi at 2 o'clock on ESPN, Michigan, Rutgers at Fox at 3:30. And of course, this Duke and North Carolina games at 6:30 on ESPN. And the other big one, I think, is UConn, Marquette at 5 o'clock. Not 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock on Fox.
Yeah. And I think one of the bigger surprises right now is the job that Rick Pitino's done with St. John's. And
absolutely.
They're playing at 12 o'clock against Kim English and his Providence Flyers that aren't having such a great year. But what he's been able to do in this second season after leaving Iona is really remarkable.
Absolutely.
Really. The college basketball is heating up, my friend.
And now we go to the professional side of things with the NBA.
Yeah, and go ahead. You could start us off because I got some thoughts on this too.
Well, we all saw it. Joel Embiid, he's suspended.
Ugh.
I don't think we need to talk about that. We can just move along, I think.
No, because I've talked about that he's not somebody that's going to lead your team to a championship. He's all about himself. It's and we're seeing it now with Jimmy Butler in Miami. Who I started to gain a lot of respect for, but now I lost all that respect because he's about Jimmy Butler and not about the team. And that's what the success is of the NBA. You can look at LeBron James and the Lakers, and just a lot of moving parts. And there was an interesting game last night, was the Bucks and the San Antonio Spurs. And I got to say, I am so impressed with this Victor Wembanyama.
Absolutely.
I didn't know that he was going to be this kind of a player. I thought he was either too tall, but the guy shoots threes, he blocks shots, he plays defense. It's unbelievable. This kid is the future of the NBA. And
no question.
Maybe almost like a changing of the guard with Giannis, who, just a physical specimen, and he's got his championship. But this Victor Wembanyama, you got to look out for this kid because he is really amazing.
Something different. Right. And I want to just make a correction right there. It was Jimmy Butler, not Joel Embiid that got suspended. I said the wrong word. It was Jimmy Butler, not Joel Embiid.
Yeah. Well, he's done in Miami because, you don't mess around with Pat Riley. Pat Riley has won championships, and, this is he's a cancer on the team. And I don't even know what team would even want to have that kind of cancer.
Absolutely. I agree. The one other big thing I thought was a potential debatable. The Warriors, they will retire Iguodala's number 9 jersey on February 23rd. I like it. I always liked him as a player. I think I have no debate, nothing. I think that was a fantastic move by the Warriors.
Well, I mean, listen, they won a lot of championships with him on the floor, but they have a lot of other pieces around them. When you look at it and say when you get a number retired, that means you were a pivotal component of that particular team, franchise, whatever. So, hey, I'm not disappointed that he gets his number retired. He gets acknowledgement. That's good.
That's great. The NBA Commissioner Adam Silver says it's possible that the NBA could be moving to 10-minute quarters.
Yes, you just stole my thunder because I was just going to bring that up as well. He's considering going to 10-minute quarters, which will reduce the game by 8 minutes. A lot of people are concerned that it can alter the records and things like that because there's less time, to score points. I don't know
I don't.
whether I don't know. I don't know whether I agree or disagree with it, to be quite honest.
I think I'm going to have to agree with this. I'm going to give my reason why. I think with the extra 2 minutes, you maybe get hope. I mean, they'll have to change some things around. First, I think the timeouts have to change. I mean, if you're going to cut out 2 minutes, you got to cut out at least a timeout or two because
You're
that means
right.
we're going to have to see more commercials or more timeouts for no reason when you have 2 minutes of less basketball. And
Good
if in
point.
reality, think about it, half the time they're either just standing there, dribbling the basketball, or passing it around. That could take up to 2 minutes. So in
Yep.
reality, you cut the game down. That's fine. And honestly, equal fair. I mean, look at the WNBA. They're doing 10-minute quarters. Is
Yeah.
there, I mean, you got to be equal. So I guess it's fine. I have no issue with it. I mean, I know how you could say, well, the history was never the same. It's going to break records different. I get it, but 8 minutes is not going to change much, especially that you're still going to put the player on the bench regardless. You're still going to give your timeouts and do your media rights. So I see no issue with this.
All right. But when you look at the NBA right now, and again, it's kind of taken a back seat in the early part of the season because of football and so forth.
Right. And I think
when you
that's another reason to it too. The
Yeah.
ratings are always down. And that, I mean, obviously just because of football, but so many more timeouts, commercials, longer games. Nobody wants to watch that.
Yeah.
If you can't shorten the game, maybe more people watch or try to attend.
And I think the biggest gripe people have is we're seeing scores of like 143 to 128. There's no defense. We know that. But look at some of the teams that are really coming around, and you see what like Houston does. Like 2 years ago, they were in the garbage can, and now they got it. And look at the Knicks and the job that, or the move that they made to get Karl Anthony Towns, and it's starting to gel for them. Can they still beat the Celtics? I don't know if they're there yet, but you look at guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in Oklahoma City, there is so much young talent. And I think one of the biggest surprises to me, I know they got a lot of talent on the team, but the Cavaliers, the season that they're having
is incredible.
It's amazing. It really is.
I mean, with the Thunder, same thing. They are having those two incredible seasons. They turned their franchises around. That's what I love to see. They have a shot as long as they can keep it up. They're in the playoffs, no problem.
Yeah, and when you think about the NBA, there's so much good young talent out there.
Absolutely.
So again, nobody really cares about the All-Star game, but when you see guys like Trae Young and Devin Booker, who are elite players in the league, don't make the All-Star team, that's because there are all these other young up-and-coming kids that are starting to take over. So some people are going to get shut out, and like I said, there's a lot of good young talent in the NBA. Just
absolutely.
Really
and the other note before we move off of the NBA, this year's NBA draft will be back again at the Barclays Center, and both nights will be back at Barclays. Last year, the second round was held at ESPN Seaport Studios in New York. The first round is on Wednesday, June 25th at 8 o'clock on ABC and ESPN. The second round on Thursday, June 26th, 8 p.m. on ESPN.
Okay. It gives us all the production aspects of the games, which is awesome. Thank you. All right, Eli, let's I know it's the off season and whatnot, but we're not very far from pitchers and catchers reporting.
Yes.
So when you look at a couple of things that I wanted to point out, Major League Baseball. So, I scratch my head when I see like the Blue Jays sign Max Scherzer to a 1-year, $15 million contract for a 40-year-old guy who's averaged about 10 to 15 starts over the past season. But it looks like the Blue Jays are all in, trying to make a run at this before they ultimately lose Vlad Guerrero, right, to free agency.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I just scratch my head. And as far as what the Mets are doing, I don't think there is any possible way they're going to let Pete Alonso. I know the sides seem to be far apart, But from a Mets perspective, it would be a public relations disaster not to bring Pete Alonso back. I know he doesn't command the money that like an Aaron Judge or obviously anybody does like Juan Soto. But the Mets will sign that guy because he's good for 35 to 40 home runs, if not more. And he's been a fixture. He's going to retire as the all-time Mets home run leader. But all this back and forth about whether Steve Cohen, if you could pay Juan Soto $750 million, you could pay Pete Alonso $100 million if Max Scherzer can get $15 million for 1 year.
Absolutely. I think Pete Alonso has to stay. And if he does not stay with this Mets team, Juan Soto is going to mean nothing. That's my opinion.
That's absolutely right.
That Pete Alonso did so much this offseason. He's done a lot. Absolutely. Yeah, you got to.
It will happen. It will happen.
Yeah. He's got to. If it does not happen, I don't know what to say. I really don't know.
But I think with losing Soto and the Yankees, I think if you look at their starting lineup, it looks pretty good. I think they're going to be okay. They did lose some pitchers and so forth, but bringing Goldschmidt in is, he's still got some fire in the tank, and I like what they've done. Losing Soto, yes, a big blow. Because the Soto, Judge, Stanton combination was absolutely lethal. But did it bring them a championship? No, it did not. And the Dodgers just keep on signing free agents. I don't know where this. We talked a little bit about it last week about the payroll, and they're not afraid to pay this luxury tax. But we're about a month away from pitchers and catchers reporting. That's hard to believe.
Absolutely.
Already.
Yeah, it's the time has gone so fast by. It's incredible.
You bet. All right, Eli. So let's move on to our random points of interest. And of course, it's sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut. I'll let you go first today. Go ahead.
Okay. I got 4 very small notes. Don't have much today. We'll start with this. The top 3 names for the Utah Hockey Club will be voted by the fans. The fans will choose one to be the Utah Hockey Club's new name. The top 3 choices are Hockey Club, a Mammoth, or Wasatch. Those are the 3 names.
I thought the Outlaws were one that was in there too.
Yeah, I don't think that was it from the new post. These are the top 3 from what the new report said, unless I'm going to double check. Maybe I'm wrong.
I know Mammoth is one.
Mammoth was one. I know Hockey Club was one.
Yep.
Double check from the NHL. It was Mammoth, Hockey Club, and Wasatch from the NHL.
Okay. And Wasatch is a mountain range in Utah,
yes.
I think. Okay.
And they said Yeti's not on the list, which was oddly to see. I think it's because of copyright issues.
Absolutely. 100% copyright. And you know what? If I was Yeti, I'd say that's fine. That gives me more publicity. I don't understand why they were fighting this, but they did.
I know, but I mean, really, it's a Yeti.
Yeah.
A Yeti is not. It's also an animal too. I mean,
I don't even know what a Yeti is.
A Yeti's an animal, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, like a mythical,
Google it, just to double check.
Like the Kraken or something, right? I don't know.
Yeti is a mythical animal.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Not even real.
I mean, really, it's not that.
Anyway,
I can go on and on with that. Okay. The WNBA has made a big trade. Seattle Storm are trading Joelle Lloyd to the Las Vegas Aces, which sends Kelsey Plum to the LA Sparks.
Okay.
This year's March Madness Men's Basketball Championship will have a start time of 8:50 p.m. That is 30 minutes earlier, and it will be on CBS, which I'm sure you'll be happy about that.
That was one of my random points too. We think a lot alike, Eli.
Oh, absolutely, we do. And the last note is the channel called Universal Kids, which was formerly known as Sprout, will be shutting down on all channels on March 6th. It was a popular kids channel. It was known as Sprout. I used to watch Sprout because that was the original name before it became Universal Kids. Had some great shows on there. I believe Barney was on there, if I'm not mistaken, back in the day. Bob the Builder, I believe, was on there back in the day. Like all these good shows that you remember as a kid, they were on Sprout, which then became Universal Kids. And was obviously different. So that's why it's saying goodbye. And that's it for random points.
All right. Well, I got a few. And again, it's really a pet peeve of mine because of this whole Optimum and MSG. I know we brought it up a little bit, but I am not going to buckle down. I am not going to give in to paying for MSG for a channel I've had for 50 years.
You still don't have the
Because-
channel back?
No, I don't. And it's not coming
Wow.
back. It's not coming back unless you make alternative arrangements. It's not coming back. So
So now what are
that's
you
gonna
doing as a
cause-
person like you? I got to ask, like, what is your plan? Did you switch cable companies? You're going to wait it out. You're going to
And-
buy the
I'm
stream-
evaluating my options right now, actually.
Okay. Hey,
because,
what do
you
you have
know-
any like top picks or anything like that? Like, just so like our sports fans can understand, like, what is a consumer of this networks are like?
Yeah,
Wh-
and
wh-
that's
how-
that's exactly what I'm doing. Well, I'm asking other people, what are you doing? And what are the limitations of whether you go to
Right.
YouTube TV or Apple TV or
Right.
put a Fire Stick
Hulu.
in and all those kind of things. So,
Right.
but the good thing is about hockey and the fact that it's gone more national. So at least when the playoffs come around, most of the games will be on TBS or
Correct.
Turner or something. So,
That's the
but
good
right
part.
now, that's a big loss for me because I always watch the Rangers right after the New
I mean, I
Year's.
think the Rangers are on ABC today, so you can watch the Rangers if you're interested. They're on ABC
Right.
today.
Right. Okay. Couple other things. We brought up last week, and I must say I got the pick right. I had Sinner win the Australian Open over Zverev. Back to backs for him. And on the women's side, hey, American Amanda Keys wins the women's side. Big upset. She was like like a prodigy coming up, and Madison Keys, I think. Yeah, I meant to say Madison.
Yeah.
So she wins her first Grand Slam event. Good for her. Couple other things. I just saw something noticed, and when I look at baseball statistics, and for some reason I was just looking up Ted Williams, and Ted Williams, obviously one of the greatest hitters, greatest baseball players of all time, but he missed 3 full seasons and parts of 2 seasons for the war. So he was a pilot in World War II, and then back in the early 50s, he had to take leave of absence to be activated for flights in the Korean War. And one of his co-pilots was John Glenn, former astronaut. Isn't that amazing?
Wow. That's
And
incredible.
if you look at the numbers Ted Williams put up, take 3 years of that away, I mean, that's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
Couple other quick things. So, and it's relating to football, and the question was posed to Cam Newton: would he trade his MVP for a Super Bowl? And he's flat out said no. And when you look at the character of somebody like that, football is a team sport, and he chose to say, "I would rather be held in high esteem for being the MVP rather than winning a Super Bowl," which I think is the ultimate goal of any professional athlete, is to be the best in your sport for that particular season.
Absolutely.
So I can't even look at the guy. He dresses like an idiot. I can't even look at him. So I have no respect for him at all. So we're also getting into golf season, Eli, and this is
Yes, it is.
normally for me, the Pebble Beach Pro-Am is basically the start of the PGA season. And Rory McIlroy got a hole-in-one on second of his career, but it's fun. The Saturday is good. You get your Bill Murray and your comedy stuff, but it's also the start of the season, and it's always a great event in Pebble Beach. It's one of the most beautiful places in the country to watch a game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, one other thing. So the early pre-Heisman or Heisman favorite for next year is a guy
It's
that
already
really
out?
only played a couple. Yeah, Arch Manning. Right? So he takes over for Quinn Ewers. That should be interesting to watch. Hockey. There was a big trade yesterday involving the Rangers, right? There
Right.
seemed to be
Yes, it was.
They're not sitting idly by because they're not having a great season. So they bring back JT Miller and they
Mhm.
send Philip Hedel to Vancouver. And the Rangers had such high hopes for this Hedel. I know he had some
It
injuries,
did
but
not
he
work
never.
out.
Yeah, it didn't work out. So bringing Miller back, I think, is a good thing for the Rangers because they got to bounce back. They got a big hole to dig out of to get back to where they were last year, as you said,
Wow.
the President's Trophy jinx, right?
Yes, it is. There it is. I've said it once and for all. I mean, I want to look up real quick who's the top of the NHL right now, just to double check to see who's in running for the curse. I believe the league standings are. I'm gonna just double check just to see who's at the
Yeah,
reigning
probably
for the
got
curse.
Winnipeg in there,
I think
right?
it's Winnipeg, if I'm not mistaken. It's still loading. Hold on. But yeah, the right
Um,
now Winnipeg. You're right. Winnipeg and then Washington right behind. Which speaking of
right.
Washington,
Yeah,
he's off to a good chase with the on roll Ovechkin to the beating Ovechkin's
Gretzky.
Gretzky's record. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I didn't think it was possible, but it looks like
Oh, it's possible.
it's going to
There's like
happen.
30
Yeah,
games left. It's absolutely possible.
still doesn't mean you could be the great eight, but the great one is still the greatest hockey player of all time. I don't care how many
Absolutely.
goals the guy scored.
Yep.
Interesting thing came out yesterday. That the NFL has said that concussions are down from last year. And I
Huh.
don't know, is it me? I'm just keep watching, and every game there's
That's something with
two,
the
three
concussion.
guys that get taken out of the game, go to the blue tent,
That's
have
odd.
concussions.
I
And
mean,
it still amazes me with the equipment we have and those.
I guess they're kind of right. I mean, you heard a lot more last year than you did this year about concussions. I mean, we had a whole monologue about it in last year. This year, we're not really talking about it. I mean,
But
other than Tua Tagovailoa, which is a different argument for a different day, but
yeah,
that was the only one that I could think of that had a big concussion. No one else.
yeah.
So I mean, I do have to agree with that. I mean,
It
I'm
just
not.
it kind
Yeah.
of caught me by surprise. That's all.
Well, yeah. I mean, it all did, but yeah. What the NFL has not surprised us with.
Yeah, and I don't know what those things. I mean, at some point maybe they mandate that all of players wear those. What do they call those caps?
Helmets,
No, that but
guardian
the
caps.
thing,
Oh, the guardian caps.
guardian caps, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I bet it's not out of the possibility that becomes a permanent fixture in the NFL in a couple seasons.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And one last thing, a random points, and it's a shout out to my beloved St. Joe's, and they won their first Bergen County
Hey.
Hockey Championship of all time. And St. Joe's has had some pretty good players. They had a couple of guys that made the NHL and so forth. But congratulations to them. You know, it's not just a football school anymore. You know?
I've always wanted to see a high school hockey game, but apparently I just got to watch St. Joe's because they're really good.
Yeah, they had a great season. Great season.
Time
Okay.
for the entertainment and photo segment that is sponsored by Vital Selections. You can scan the QR code now to learn more.
Okay. A couple of quick things. So,
Yes, I do too.
my movie recommendation this week is Cool Hand Luke with Paul Newman. And any
Okay.
Paul Newman movie for
It's
me
fantastic.
is great. It's a great
No
movie.
question.
And, they had, it was kind of Paul Newman Day last Sunday. So I got a chance to catch some of his movies. But Cool Hand Luke is always one of my favorites. And by the way, programming note, if you have Turner Classics, it's 31 Days of Oscar. And that's always great. So all the movies they show have an Oscar nominated component to it, which is awesome.
Wow.
So if you want a chance to catch up on some great movies, check out
sir.
Turner Classics.
All right. Well, this week I'm going to do some TV show picks. Here's what's happening this week that you may want to watch. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock, you have the 67th Annual Grammy Awards, music's biggest night. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock is on ABC, ESPN, ESPN Plus, and Disney Plus are the Pro Bowl games. I guess you can consider that a show. They got to rechange it. That'll be my monologue. I think I'm playing for next week for the All Stars and what they have to do better. Monday at 8 o'clock on NBC, The Voice returns. Wednesday, 9 o'clock on CBS is actually pretty good to watch. Super Bowl greatest commercials, funniest of all time. I think I might watch that because that sounds interesting.
But I also
of course, name your basketball game.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I actually saw some. This is the, believe it or not, the 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Live. So they had some kind of
yeah,
special. If you want to, some of this was absolutely brilliant television. It was great. It's a 3 hour
yes.
special. If you get a chance to watch it, it's outstanding.
Yeah, and I
Outstanding.
know right now they're actually doing the SNL 50 experience. You have to purchase tickets in advance. It's in New York City at 30 Rock. It's like
Yeah.
a mini Saturday Night Live setup where you could pretend to be the host, the weekend update set and everything. It's pretty cool. I was tempted to get the tickets. It was free actually, but we did not. But it's happening right now until Sunday. So if you see it pop up on the One Iota system, sign up because that's pretty cool. It's runs till tomorrow. And yeah, be
Absolutely.
sure to catch the 50th um, SNL version of the
Yeah,
show.
no, it's been I remember when it first premiered and I've been
It was
watching it.
fantastic.
It's just great, great, great
And
writing.
last week, Timothy Chalamet was great. The show was great. It was funny. That's what you gotta love. And I
Yeah.
love Weekend Update, especially the joke swap during the holidays and everything. They're awesome.
But
Can't.
Weekend Update will always be synonymous with Norm Macdonald as far as I'm concerned, because he was
Okay.
one of my
I like
favorite guys.
Colin Jost and Michael Che in my book, but we'll see.
Yeah, they're not bad, but they're not Norm
Yeah.
Macdonald.
The other two were Thursday on NFL and on NFL Network and Fox at 9 o'clock. The NFL Honors hosted by Snoop Dogg. That's happening Thursday.
Boy,
And
he's got some agent, that Snoop Dogg. I mean,
oh yeah, he does.
he's even got a college bowl game named after him.
Yeah, it was originally Barstool, but they gave it to him now. Jonas Brothers will also be getting a new Christmas comedy this Christmas coming to Disney Plus.
Okay.
All right, let's get to some photos.
Yes. We got a couple of photos here.
Yes, I'll start off with this one, and it's of course the honeymooners. No
Well,
surprise.
and listen, why did I put this on it?
Yep.
Because I can. And it's one of the funniest shows of all time. And Ralph Cramden is always in my house watching. And I could just look at that and I laugh. That's how good the show was.
Okay.
Here is a nice picture. And this is myself and Lucy with Susan and Tom Pugh, who are in from Kansas City. They're um, in for just a New York visit and so forth. And they're dear friends and had a wonderful time. Tom's been a loyal listener of the show, dear friend of mine for many years, and we had such a wonderful time with them. And
Anywhere good?
I just want you to know, Tom had some medical issues, and he's a heart transplant recipient, and he looks amazing, and he's back at it, and then just a wonderful couple, and that was a great time.
Awesome. Where'd you guys go? Anywhere good?
Yeah, we kind of moved around New York City, and we didn't. Um, it was a good time just to see
That's
them
good.
in from town.
That's what
Yeah.
matters.
And so this one, if I don't know if you guys can zoom in on it or not, but this is
I
a
don't.
picture.
You,
So
yeah, you would have to do it on your own end. Yeah.
it's former major league player Tony Clark, who had a pretty decent career. He had over 250 home runs, drove in over 100 runs a couple of times, made his mark with the Diamondbacks, but played for the Yankees, played for the Mets, and he's now the executive director of the Major League Baseball Players Association. And he couldn't have been more gracious. Had a conversation for
I
a
hope
few
you plugged the
minutes.
show to him.
I absolutely did. I don't know if he's tuning in today, but Tony, thank you, because you're a class act, my friend, and that's some beard he's got too.
Oh yeah, that's wow. But hey, great photo.
Okay, Eli.
Some notable
So
passings,
we got
unfortunately.
notable passings, and one's kind of a personal thing for me. She was a family friend and like my mother's best friend growing up in New York City, and her name was Gloria Ellerbush, and her husband Henry was dear to me. Him and I used to play golf a lot. She was a wonderful, wonderful person, and she passed away this week at 94. So I wanted to make sure I acknowledged that because she was always treated the Monahan kids like her own children. It was just big loss for us. Also, from the world of entertainment, Marianne Faithfull passed away. She was 78 years old and very synonymous with the Rolling Stones. She actually, her first hit was "As Tears Go By," which was written and covered by the Rolling Stones. She had some up and down parts of her career, but when you think of the Rolling Stones, you got to think of Marianne Faithfull, and she passed away at 78. Starred in some movies too. but she was, as a child with Mick Jagger of all things too. But Eli, this one, I don't know. I want to say ironic because of the events that happened in DC. But when you want to talk about figure skating in the United States, you can't talk about figure skating without mentioning Dick Button, who
Yep.
won gold medal in 1948 in the individual, and he won another gold medal in 1952, and then went on to become the face of figure skating broadcasting. Because listen, when I was growing up, I watched the Dorothy Hamills and all those kind of things. And Dick Button was, he didn't pull any punches. He was very critical, but he was the foremost voice in figure skating, and he was 95 years old.
Wow.
So
It was horrible to see everything happen.
Yeah.
We had it in monologue, and we send our thoughts and prayers as always. It's such a tough moment to take in.
And I don't know if a lot of people knew who Dick Button was, but I sure did because I watched him and I heard his broadcast for many, many years. So, did I miss anybody this week?
I
Eli?
don't have anybody else. I think you covered it all.
All right, that's good. Well, listen, folks. Like I said, we started off the show with our heartfelt prayers for the victims that
Absolutely.
happened, and we cover a lot of sports and so forth. So thank you for joining us, and send us emails because we'd love to interact with our loyal listeners. Like Juan sent us, right? That was your friend, and
Yep.
of course Eric and Tom and Susan Pugh, just dear friends of mine. Thank you for all your support, and things are really picking up for the show, and we look forward to doing the show next week and covering just as much. And hold on, we will make our Super Bowl picks next week.
Next week,
you got to tune
in. And the question that'll be on everybody's plate: will Jim Monahan go against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, or will he be smart about his pick? That is a question that'll be answered next time on Sports with Mano and Mano.
Well, that seems to be a little preview of where I may be going and where you may be going.
I don't know. We'll see.
Right.
Tune in next week at 10 o'clock to find out.
All right, Eli, you have a good week, and we'll see you guys next week. But send us comments, and thank you for your support, and we'll see you next week at 10 o'clock.
All right, take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.